Hello, everybody. I am Hoarder Gamer, and this is Hoarder's Comic Flex. I hope that you had an awesome week, and I hope to make your week even more awesome, or at least not worse than it was before you started watching this episode. So, of course, it's Hoarder's Comic Flex, so we are going to have a comic book review. We're also going to have some video game news. We're going to toy around and then look at the very near future of comic books 1 week from today. So first up, we've got some video game news. And the lion's share of the news this week is the First Descendant. Now, while I am a descendant, I can't claim to be the first. There were so many people playing this game, there's no way I could claim to be the first descendant. It seems to be an instant hit, and one of the biggest surprises happened today. Paul Tassi, who at first wasn't impressed, said he's done a complete 180, and he seems to really be enjoying the First Descendant. Now, this is a game as a service, so people's enjoyment can change almost at the drop of a hat, you know? I'm just going to be talking about my experience with the game. So first up, I was debating whether to start with Viessa, Ajax, and Bunny, okay? So I actually did start with Viessa. She's basically an ice mage. She can debuff enemies, and she has really cool cold and like ice-based powers. So that's who I use as my main. And the main story, actually it might be a side mission, but I think it's the main story, takes you through early on in the game how to get the materials to get Bunny. So you end up getting Bunny very quickly. I would say it was probably 2 hours or 3 hours into the gameplay session where you have the materials. And then it takes, I want to say I forget if Bunny is instant or if she's 4 hours. I think she might be instant. So then, after that, I ended up grinding a bit to get Freyna. Now, we're going to actually go into some notes that I took, because things get a little bit on the complicated side when you're talking about this game and the details. Okay? So, like I said, I ended up starting with Viessa, and the story that takes you through unlocking Bunny, and then I grinded to get Freyna. Freyna has poison damage. Okay, and it's really cool. Her most powerful attack takes an entire magazine from one of her weapons and puts like poison damage to the bullets. So you're doing a lot of damage via poison and using your gun. So I thought that was really cool. I didn't even know that was one of her abilities, and it's actually one of my favorites now. So I really like that. And there's a way that you can like increase the amount of time you can use your abilities by lowering the cooldown. So that is super cool. Down. Okay, that joke probably didn't work, but I tried. Okay, so see, that's what happens when I have jokes because those aren't scripted. The jokes aren't scripted, so that's how that goes. Here's one of the big issues I have with the game, and it's not a terrible thing. It's something that can be fixed pretty easily. Just like Warframe, you use modules in order to upgrade your character. And instead of a frame, these are, descendants, okay? Well, some of these modules have a chance of dropping, and it's like a 1.5% chance to drop. So, at 1.5% chance, if you're hoping for 100% total, that's 67 times you'd have to run the mission. Some of these missions only take like 2 or 3 minutes, especially if you're playing with co-op. But my God, that's still a lot of times to run one single mission. So what you'd want to do with this game is you'd want to be like looking for group, but then looking for group to grind specific mod. I mean, that's kind of what you'd have to do in some of these cases, because 1.5% chances are extremely low, okay, as I just pointed out. I think that needs a slightly less grindy grind. Games like Warframe have a grind. Games like the Destiny, the grind is a big part of the excitement. Even Marvel's Avengers had one. Okay, but the 1.5% chance is just too low. I honestly think the lowest chance you should have of getting any mod would be 5%. Okay, so that way you're looking at probably about 20, maybe 30 times to do a mission in order to get that mod you really, really love, instead of, nearly 70 times. And there's other mods, though, that are much easier to get. Like when I mentioned I grinded for Freyna. Freyna chances to get her materials were 20% in those missions. So some of those missions I had to do like 5 times. One of them I did like 3 or 4. So that wasn't too bad. And those were relatively short missions. I think most of those were in the 3-minute range. And there was one that was 20 minutes. So that one was a little bit lengthier. And I had to do that one, I think, 3 times. But it's fun. Like you go in co-op. There's so many people playing the game as of right now that just about any little mission you do, there'll be people ready to play, and you'll be loaded in like 5 seconds, 10 seconds maybe at the most right now. It's a really cool experience. It's almost like plug and play, because the amount of time you're playing greatly outweighs the amount of time you're loading into an event or mission. So I really like that. Okay, let's see here. Oh, the Void Colossus battles. So this game has really good boss battles. They're called Void Colossus. Gigantic kaiju-like battles, including like destroying like the buildings and like towers and things around the enemy. Almost more like obstructions, because it's not like there's towers that people are living in. It's not like Godzilla exactly. But like I fought a thing called the Grave Walker, which is this giant tank. It has like an eye on it and everything, and it's pretty intense. And then after you do enough damage, these little red cylinders pop out of the knees, and you have to destroy those. So that's how you defeat that thing. Stunning Beauty is a very interesting Colossus. So it looks like a giant, like 100-foot tall woman, and it looks like a robot. So closest thing I could compare it to would be like RC maybe in Transformers a little bit, and then also Metropolis, the robotic woman in Metropolis, a little bit like that. And with her, that's pretty interesting. You actually shoot at her shoulders, and they turn color. And at that point, you can actually use your grapple to attach to the shoulders and remove the shoulder plates, causing an insane amount of damage to Stunning Beauty. And then everyone else in the party is like shooting and attacking Stunning Beauty as, you're grappling and attacking on top of the Colossus. So a little bit like Shadow of the Colossus, where you climb those enemies and, you climb those colossi. There's a number of twists in that game. You climb those colossi and, like, you start hacking at them in certain areas and everything. A little bit like that. So I thought that was really cool, and those bosses are awesome. I would say the game needs a new mechanic, though, for fighting story-based bosses. So far, I've only seen 2 mechanics that are used. Each boss has roughly 3 life bars. When you take off a life bar, then the boss like teleports to another area of the room, and 3 spheres float above them, and they're connected via tethers. And you have to basically do enough damage to destroy the 3 spheres, and then you have access to the next life bar on that boss. Rinse and repeat. Okay, that's one. The secondary one is they become like Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man, and they have like 8 or 10 tentacles that come out of them, and then they latch onto other enemies. So you need to kill all the other enemies, like regular like soldiers and drones and stuff like that, to actually do damage again to the boss. So I really think they have to come up with like, a couple more of those, because it's not terrible. And most of these bosses have some unique, like, attack. One of them did this crazy, like, poison attack that, like, spread out all over. So as you're trying to do your attacks, you need to be cognizant of that and be able to dash out of the way. So that's pretty interesting, at least. So each boss pretty much has something like that. Greg the Star-Crossed, I mentioned that goofy named enemy before, right? Well, there are clones of him, so that's even goofier. Let's see here. What else do I have to say about the game? Oh, I do think in the co-op area events, basically like wave-based, defeat the enemies or like stop the enemies from destroying this item type of thing. In those can be up to like, I believe 10, 12, or even up to like 20 waves. They need to have a ammo droid. So in a lot of areas of the game, you'll see this little droid with a cute little, almost like LCD Tamagotchi type face that's smiling, and that's how you get your ammo replenished. He's also shows up in like actual large story missions and things like that, usually in the corner of the room, okay? But I've looked and looked in these co-op area events, and I have not seen him. And sometimes the enemies just do not want to drop you ammo. And when I say don't want to drop you ammo, I'm talking about general rounds. I'm talking about for your main weapon, like your assault rifle or your submachine gun or whatever. So that gets difficult. It gets difficult when you can't get a hold of ammo. So I do think they should have those droids in those missions. Like even if it's like every 2 or 3 waves that droid shows up, or maybe it's always there, right? But it's camouflaged. So you can't actually use it until it uncamouflages after a few waves. Because there were numerous times where, through no fault of my own, even like running out onto the field and trying to get ammo, I couldn't. And I'd have to swap to something like a pistol or hand cannon, but the hand cannon is a lot slower at shooting. Only recently did I upgrade the mods, so I have 25% faster speed with the hand cannon. So that's something I actually did based on, oh wow, this is really slow and not able to drop enemies quick enough for this type of event. Okay, now missions range from 2 minutes to like real short little missions, like 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 at the most in the open world, okay? Then there's 20-minute story campaign missions, and those are up to around 20 minutes. If you have a group, it's probably gonna be more like 10 or 15. Okay, they're a lot of fun though. There's story-based elements going on. It's very cool. It's similar to story missions in like something like Warframe or Destiny. And then you have like the co-op event missions I mentioned, and those are up to 30 minutes, depending on how many waves you get through. So, as I said before, you're spending more time playing a game than you are loading into the events or the missions, which I think is a huge plus, and why a lot of the people that playing this game really, really like it. Now, I've already talked about the microtransactions and the way the game is monetized. And again, I think there's a number of skins that are really affordable. Like a new helmet is like $2.50. A new actual piece of like suit of armor is $2.50 to $5, which I do not think is bad, especially if you're not going wild and trying to get all that cosmetic stuff out there. However, I still do disagree with the way they do paints. And I almost feel like they do paints so expensively. One use, and I believe they're between $2.50 or $5 a piece. I have to check the price, because I don't know now where they move that information in the store, so I have to find that. But yeah, they are one use. So you use it on like a helmet, you use it on like a suit of armor type of thing, there you go. They're not reusable like shaders are in Destiny. But one important thing to keep in mind, it took 3 or 4 years for Destiny to have reusable shaders. They didn't always. So that wasn't an instant thing for Destiny. So now hopefully they can make some changes to the paint system that won't take 3 or 4 years. Because that is, to me, the only like egregious thing I see with the monetization so far. So far. I'm not at endgame yet. I have one character, I believe, at like level 36 or 37, Bunny. So my Bunny is almost level 40. And at level 40, I have to make the decision if I want to prestige, which I probably will, because doing those big open world events, the ones that can be up to 30 minutes with wave-based enemies, that's a great way to level up. Plus, Oh, yeah, when you prestige, you start over again at level 1. But it's important because you get more points to be able to spend on your mods. So you can create a more powerful Descendant. And prestiging here, as from right now, is a one-time thing. So it's not like you're meant to prestige a Descendant 5, 10 times or something like that, like some other games will have. So it definitely seems a lot less egregious that way too. Okay. Now, we go to Star Wars Outlaws. IGN First, I want to say this was yesterday, had a cool 20-minute video showing off all the challenges and results from the first truly open-world Star Wars game. And it looks excellent. And something they showed, which I thought was really cool, they wanted to explain how missions work. Eavesdropping in a cantina can get you a hot tip on the location of where some Jawas are. Once you get to those Jawas, they'll task you with a mission. And once you're completed with that, it will lead you to having a more powerful laser cannon on your starship. So I thought that was really cool. As a for instance, I thought that was really neat. They also mentioned that there's at least 2 of the 5 planets that you go to that will take you 5 minutes straight on your speeder to get across that planet. What that means is those planets are huge. Those planets are huge. You start out, I want to say you start out on the planet of Kijimi that's in Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker. And that's like your starting point. You know, certain things are explained to you and stuff like that. You're meeting your first factions. Then you leave and you go to a larger planet, but it's not that much larger. But apparently it's like the 3rd planet you go to is gigantic. And in real time, you're like, you know, leaving the planet in your ship, going into the atmosphere, dogfighting in outer space, also finding like wreckage and things like that. It sounds like in outer space. So there's exploration in space, not just combat, not just travel. So I think that's awesome. And they mentioned that Mass Effect and The Division were both large influences on them. Now, Julian Geraghty, he actually worked on The Division 1 and 2. And then after The Division 2, he went to this game. Now, I believe he's heading back to Division for The Division 3 after this, but I'm not 100% on that. So, but yeah, definitely the whole Mass Effect thing has to do with you finding experts. And experts give you missions, experts try to teach you new ways to do things and everything. And that very much kind of sounded like your relationship with the experts, what it was like in Mass Effect 2. It sounds like maybe some of the experts even join you on your ship. I know at some point you do get a crew. You're putting together a crew. And you already knew about the cool droid, the big giant battle droid. And then you also have Nyx, who's your cute little alien partner / pet, and helps you get like enemy weapons, helps open doors, helps distract enemies so you can get by and stealth. So yeah, really neat stuff there. And our final video game news today, Suicide Squad Season 2, Episode 3, been pushed back till July 25th. It was supposed to launch tomorrow. Now, there's a number of reasons I can think that they did this. Hopefully I'm right about this. SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, is that either starting that day or the day before or something. That is like the start of San Diego Comic-Con, July 25th. So hopefully they're using that to do some promotion for this. Also, they have not had a blog yet with more details on this season. They've not had a character trailer for Mrs. Freeze. And they have not had a deep dive, which they did for episode 1 and 2, season 1, which was with the Joker. So my hope is that all of this, or some of this, is the reason that they pushed that back. I got a little frustrated because apparently, sales-wise, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is like the 8th best-selling game of 2024. Like, I kid you not. Like, sales-wise, eighth best-selling game of 2024. And still, apparently, WB Games does not care. So I tweeted something, and it really connected. It resonated with a number of fans, and I just wanted to go to that real quick. It's real short, but like to get my points across on it, you know, it was a lot of us want to support the game, but it feels at time like you've all checked out. Now this was to Rocksteady, you know, and WB Games. The moment-to-moment gameplay is great, which I truly believe. I love going around, shooting the enemies, playing with a group of people. I love the open world Metropolis. I just played it like probably around a week ago or so, and I had a really good time. Okay, but, and most people agree with me on this, we need new modes, new villains. I brought this up a dozen times. You're telling me that the Penguin is able to survive in a warehouse in Metropolis, and somehow every other supervillain is either MIA or dead? How is that possible? How? So, like, I don't buy that. So I'm like, where are the other villains? They should have thought of, hey, people want to fight more than Brainiac and screwed up Brainiac versions of the Justice League, you know? They need something to excite players. And, like, even with outfits, you know, fans are begging, actually begging for DCU and comic suits for the characters in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And nothing. Absolutely nothing. Closest thing we got was, like, the deluxe edition had really cool skins, like a Flash skin for Boomer, a Wonder Woman skin for Harley Quinn, you know, Batman skin for Deadshot, and a Superman skin for King Shark. Like, that's it. You know, we never got the cool Green Lantern King Shark skin. That would have been awesome. I know a lot of people wanted that. I'd probably break down and get that, to be honest with you. They haven't done any of the DCU Harley outfits. There are at least like 5 or 6 of those. There's like 5 or 6, if not more, of the comic book outfits just for Harley. They could have the Deadshot outfit that was in the first Suicide Squad movie. They could have King Shark from the movie The Suicide Squad. Like, there's a lot they could do, but they didn't do, or and don't seem to be doing. And it's frustrating, you know? It's frustrating. At some point, you almost feel like there's a level of sabotage going on. That's where it gets weird, you know? Because I just can't see all these, like, errors and mistakes occurring, some that are so easy to take care of. Like, a game like this needs to survive on, you know, the DLC, the cosmetics and stuff like that. But it's like they didn't know that. And it makes no sense. It's like as if this game was completely made in a vacuum, where no one on the team played or was allowed to play things like Warframe, Destiny, any of the other big games as a service. At times, that's what it feels like. And at times, that's what it felt like with Marvel's Avengers. I mean, I kind of doubt that's the case, but it's how it feels. Okay, everybody. We are done with video game news for this week. Next up, it is time for us to get back to that childlike sense of wonder and awe and toy around. It is time for us to toy around. So whether you're young or young at heart, we have some really cool things to show you. First up, we have, let's see. Let's start with Hasbro. Take a look at this insanity. This is a 2-pack for $44.99 from Hasbro. Star Wars, okay? The pack is the Inquisitor and a Duros Bounty Hunter, okay? But it's the Halloween pack. So the Inquisitor is made out like Dracula. It's like a Dracula version of the freaking Inquisitor, okay? And the Minoc is supposed to be like a vampire bat. I thought this was very clever. I feel this is one of the best holiday sets that they've done. This is in the 6-inch scale, Black Series, if you were wondering. But yeah, $44.99, and this is only half of it, right? This is the Inquisitor Dracula. Like, they don't say Dracula, because they really didn't have the rights, I guess. Although I guess that's, I think it's public domain for Dracula. But anyway, there's the Inquisitor. Next up, we have the Duros Bounty Hunter. Look at that. Frankenstein. With like a miniature Frankenstein version of Babu Frick. And if you know me, I'm a total Babu freak. The staff with like the electric bolts on it. The little things back to the head, the green, the jacket, everything. Very much like Frankenstein. I think this is a very cool set. I believe these pre-orders are actually live right now for this. It's like $44.99. And for 2 6-inch figures with accessories, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad. I do think that the single Black Series figures being like 28 or almost 30 is extreme. And I think it's absolutely insane that the 3 3/4 scale figures are $17, as I saw at GameStop the other day. 3 3/4 inch at $17. It doesn't even make sense. It's not even sensical. Okay, so there we go. We have that Star Wars set right there. Moving on to McFarlane Toys. Say hello to Fusion. And what is Fusion? A fusion of Batman and Superman from Batman and Superman World's Finest. Now, what's funny is that's a comic book I read, but apparently I didn't read the issue or issues that had this character in, or this fusion of the Superman and Batman. I think it looks really cool, though. I think the coloring is really neat. I think it has a cool, like, intensity to it. And sometimes when you do, like, these variant Batmans or Supermans or whatever, it just doesn't seem to work. But I really do like this one. I think this one's cool. Fusion. Next up, we have Batman. But not just Batman. A Frank Quitely version of Batman. Like, it's a really good take, like a sculpt from his artwork. You can see it in the head and face and everything. Really nice looking Batman action figure. Now, Fusion and this one, these go on sale the 25th of July. So those aren't on sale yet, but very soon. And in fact, I believe, again, that's like the first day, or at least the preview day, of San Diego Comic-Con. So keep that in mind. Also, honorable mention, Batman 66, Adam West Batman, and he's actually jointed and has the proper hands that he can do the Bat-Tusi. If you've watched the 66 Batman show, you know what that is. That figure has been very popular among collectors, talking about it, looking forward to it. That also comes out the same time, July 25th. So there's a lot of Bat love for McFarlane Toys on July 25th. Okay, everybody, now we are going to look at the future of comic books. The future of comic books all the way to 1 week from today. Okay, and first up we have Phoenix. Part of the From the Ashes X-Men comic book series. So we know all about a lot of them right now. And let's see, the ones I can name. X-Men 1, you'll be seeing a review of that in just a few minutes. That's actually the review I did this week. Uncanny X-Men. I think either comes out this month, if not early next month. And that's with Gail Simone writing it. So I'm very much looking forward to that book. Then there's NYX, which is with Kamala Khan, and I believe mostly younger members of the X-Men, and it's in New York. Sentinels, which is going to be really wild. It's human cyborgs, but they're actually like Sentinels, and that's a comic book coming out. Like, that's a pretty crazy one coming out. And I just found out Mark Russell, award-winning, excellent writer Mark Russell, will be doing X-Factor. All very exciting. Storm is getting a book. As you see right here, Phoenix is getting a book. And here in the Phoenix book, she is basically in deep space. She gets an alert from someone that's in distress. And only Phoenix is able to save like thousands of lives. So, and keep in mind, Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, all of that. So there's kind of a juggling going on there. I think this will be really cool. And I believe this is Stephanie Phillips, who I believe does the Harley Quinn comic book. And I'm trying to think. I know she does something else recently. She might do Poison Ivy. Don't quote me on that, but she might. No, it's not her. I don't think doing Poison Ivy. I apologize. But yes, I think this looks really cool. I don't know for sure if I'm going to review this next week. I'll probably end up getting a copy to check it out. But yeah, I think this is definitely one of the big titles of this upcoming week. Next up, we have The Devil! The Devil That Wears My Face. Okay? A mix between Face Off and The Exorcist. Taking place in the Vatican in 1407, a priest is possessed by the devil. And as you might guess, that goes very badly. And this devil has a mad-on for completely destroying the Vatican and the Pope. So, yeah. This is the miniseries that's actually, a trade, and it's $17.99. Now, I initially thought it was going on sale today. But apparently, recently, what's been happening is Previews is having different dates than Lunar Distribution. And it seems so far that Lunar Distribution is the one that's always correct, and not Previews. So it's kind of odd. But, yeah. The Devil That Wears My Face. It's creepy, it's dark, and there's a lot of interesting twists. And it's from the writer of Space Ghost. Dave Papos, who does Space Ghost. So, yeah, very cool book. Very cool book. Next up, we have The Powerpuff Girls. Okay? Now, this is done by Kelly Thompson, and that's exciting because she writes the Birds of Prey book currently. And that's been excellent. It's been a great team book. It's been clever and everything. And I think if you're going to get a writer to do Powerpuff Girls, she's a great choice. So this comes out next week. This here is actually the foil cover, which is going to be a bit more expensive. And I will admit, Dynamite really loves to have, like, their variant covers. And they'll have, like, a cover that's, like, 10. They'll have one that's 30. Then they'll do insane covers, like it's actually made of metal. Like, and it's like, $50 to $100. So it's pretty wild. One thing for collectors, though, it's got to be a little frustrating because, like, this will come out next week, right? The regular issue, that's like $4.99, and then this, like, foil version here is like $9.99, and then I believe they also had a $30 version as well. So if they decide to do, like, the metal version, like they do with some of their comics or some other variants, those could be the week after, or maybe a week after that. Sometimes those do not ship at the same time. So collector is almost forced to buy, like, multiple copies, and if they want to read it right away. So just something to keep in mind, if you're interested. But yeah, I think that she's a really good choice for Powerpuff Girls. And Dynamite has been doing some really Dynamite books. Like I mentioned, Space Ghost has been great. That's one of the better books out there to read right now. And finally, this one's pretty wild, everybody. Witchblade. Okay? Sarah Pazzini is back. It is a new origin story, and Marguerite Bennett is writing it. So I think this is going to be really cool. Witchblade 1. There's 3 or 4 covers for it, and if you don't know too much about Witchblade, one character you might know about is the Darkness. And if you played, there's a huge spoiler, by the way, the Darkness video games, in the second one, people were really frustrated there wasn't a third one, because Sarah Pazzini is actually Jackie Estacado's girlfriend. And at the end of the game, Sarah becomes Witchblade. And it's insane. And then you're like, oh my god, and there's no third game. Now, the second game was really good. It was just a little bit more like streamlined than the first one. And it was much more of like a, played kind of like BioShock, actually. Even more so than the first Darkness game did. The first Darkness almost seemed a little bit more RPG-like because of how large it was and like exploration and everything. But this seemed more like a shooter like BioShock. And I guess not as much exploration as the first BioShock game. But yeah, Witchblade 1. Now, I will possibly review this. I'm not 100% sure. But it's very possible this might be the book I review for next week. And that, everybody, is... one second here. The future week in comic books. All the way to 1 week from today. Now, speaking of comic book reviews, we have X-Men. X-Men number 1. And I think I can get you a better picture of that cover here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. So, the team here we've got is Cyclops, Beast, Magneto, Psylocke, Kid Omega, who you might know as Quentin Quire, a man who is a mutant that can possibly not die, Temper, Magic, and Juggernaut. So it's a pretty insane team. Jed McKay's writing it, and Jed is actually the writer of all the recent Moon Knight books, and he's done a number of really cool things. He did a really cool miniseries with Mary Jane Watson and Black Cat. That was really neat. And he's kind of like jumped around to different miniseries. I believe he's the writer on Doctor Strange currently, and quite a few other comics. But yeah, basically this is a really cool intro, but it definitely leaves you wanting more. So what happens is the X-Men have taken an old factory in a town outside of Alaska called Merrill, and they've made it their own. And they're like growing plants, and like, you know, Hank McCoy, Beast, is doing experiments there. And the sheriff of Merrill comes down from the Merrill Police Department just to check up on everything. And Beast is there. At first she freaks out when she sees Beast. Then she freaks out when she sees Glob. But she ends up seeing Zorn, and she doesn't freak out. So she's cognizant of, you know, her reactions and everything like that. And she actually felt really bad about it with Beast and even Glob. So, yeah, that was interesting to see. You know, what is it like for regular people to meet mutants, right? You know, and Hank puts it really well. He says, "Think nothing of it, Chief Robbins. Heteromorphic genetic expression can often be startling, and I am quite used to it by now." So he had a really nice way to say, hey, you know, we're humans, you know, treat us as human beings, but, you know, I get it. You know, you're not used to this, and, you know, just keep that in mind for next time, is kind of like what he's saying. And what happens is you have Scott Summers and most of the rest of the team, except for Magneto and Beast, they're on an away mission. And as as Beast says, I assure you, it's a dangerous one. They have found out that Wolverine has been kidnapped. And Wolverine has basically been just thinking loudly, as he said, to basically get the attention of any of the telepaths of the X-Men. Anyone with like those kind of those powers that would allow him to communicate with them. So they're going to rescue Wolverine, and while they're there, they also have a bead on a number of mutants that have recently got their powers. The big reveal, though, they're adults. These aren't teenagers at puberty. These are adults who just almost all at the same time manifest mutant powers. And they're former members of Orcus that are like part of another organization that basically wants to use the X-Men to get their abilities, but doesn't hate mutants. So it's pretty wild. Also, there's something called 3K and Mother, and they seem to be watching the X-Men fighting these new mutants, for lack of a better word. Meanwhile, back with Sheriff Robbins over at the factory, we find out that it's a repurposed Sentinel factory, and that the people of Merrill were building Sentinels. And as Beast is very, kind-hearted and friendly and everything, makes tea with the sheriff, and even makes a little date to try some cherry pie at a local diner with her, Magneto is not quite there. Magneto is like basically laying the law down with her and saying that, we need to be here, you need to respect us, or else. And, it's Magneto, who they now call Max. So, yeah, I think X-Men 1 is really good. Again, it's McKay, and Ryan Stegman is actually doing pencils. Ryan did most of the issues of the Venom series when Donny Cates was writing Venom. So he did most of the 35 issues, I believe, that came out. And he's done a lot of other things, including covers for a number of books, like variant covers. Great artist, and a great choice to have for the flagship X-Men book. Now, Uncanny X-Men, that's actually going to be the book that has Wolverine in it. He's in here briefly because they need to rescue him, but then he's like, I'm out. And someone asked Scott Summers, where do you think he's going? And he's like, I'm pretty sure between the U.S. and Canadian border. So, we'll see how that works with Uncanny X-Men. And, I thought this was really good. The mystery really is, who is 3K, or what is 3K? And who is this person named Mother that this person was talking to as they're watching the fighting between the mutants? My guess is somehow they might be the ones that caused the rapid mutation in adults, which again is not supposed to be feasible, but has happened here. Okay, everybody. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have an excellent week, and I'll see you in, 1 week from today. For whatever reason, if you want more of me in your life, twitch.tv/Hoarder Gamer, and currently I'm doing a lot of the First Descendant. Surprise, surprise! When they do have the drop for Suicide Squad, I'll definitely try out Mrs. Freeze. And, this Sunday, actually, is a new episode of the Primecast. I am the co-host, and J. Kun Prime is the host, and that should be a lot of fun. 7 p.m. Central for that. That's going to be on the J. Kun Prime Twitch channel, and it will pop up on YouTube probably the day after. Okay, everybody, I hope you have an excellent week, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.